Welcome to FusionWare Integration's application development demonstrations in our Nothin but .NET series. These application development demonstrations will try to show how easy it is to develop using almost any method against a MultiValue database while maintaining best practices. We want to show that it shouldn't matter what sort of application you want to develop. You shouldn't have to keep finding a new way to get your data. Whether you want traditional WinForms, web forms, or ASP.NET applications, Silverlight, or even Windows Presentation Foundation, you shouldn't have to keep redoing your work. Instead, using a pure managed provider like the mvLynx managed provider, you can quickly and easily create a data access layer, or DAO, that does all the heavy lifting of MultiValue data for you. Then it's just a matter of creating your applications using whatever presentation layer you want, or use them all. When you create your new presentation layer, no need to worry about the data at all. Focus on how it works and looks because the data is already taken care of. Add a web services layer, hardly any code at all, and you can include even non-Microsoft presentation layers like Android, iPhone, PHP, and many more. This series will show you how to make it happen for you, and happen quickly. This demonstration will build a Silverlight application that will provide a viewer for our sales order file. We will create most of the application in Visual Studio, but we will also use Microsoft Expression Blend, a tool that adds a little jazz to our application. Silverlight does not support .NET datasets. To make our data more readily available to web applications, we are going to wrap our sales order data access layer in web services. Visual Studio makes this pretty easy. We need to create a website project to host our web services, and then just create the web services methods that we'll call our DAO. Once we have the website created, we just need to add a web service item to our project. Visual Studio does most of the work for us. Our web service just needs to pass through the methods defined in our DAO, but with the mvLynx managed provider, you could just as easily use this technique to wrap basic programs. In previous demonstrations, we have called our DAO select methods already. We will do almost the same thing here. First, we need to make sure we have the XML and data assemblies, as well as our own DAO available to us. We will also need our website to reference the sales order data access layer. Now, all we need to do is create an instance of the sales order DAO, and then duplicate the methods we want to offer through web services. We want to make available the getSalesOrderById and getSalesOrderBySelect. Once we call the select method, the results will be in our dataset. Datasets can provide their data in XML format, and XML is exactly the format we need in web services. So we will get the XML and then pass that back as our web method result. In C#, the code is just as simple. You can see examples of it at our CTO blog at www.fwic.net. The two methods are almost exactly identical, making our job pretty easy. Once our web services layer has been created, we could call them from almost anything that supports web services. You could have somebody calling from a PHP application, an e-commerce application, or maybe even a mobile application on iPhone or Android. It really does become universally available. Now that we have our web services, we need to add a Silverlight project to our solution. Microsoft Silverlight is a free web browser plugin that enables interactive media experiences, rich business applications, and immersive mobile apps. Did you know that Windows Mobile 7 apps are written in Silverlight, and that Silverlight is available for most browsers and platforms? Because Silverlight is web-based, we will host the application on the website we created previously. To make the data from our web service available to our application, we need to add a web reference to the project. The Discover button shows us web services available in this solution, after which we can drill down into the web services until we find the one with the methods we need. We will give the reference the namespace of Sales Order WS for readability. You should notice that the Silverlight development environment is almost the same as WPF development. Both use XAML as their markup language. We're going to use a text box and button just the same as in Windows Presentation Foundation. This time, instead of the standard Silverlight data grid, we'll use the Rad Grid View control from Telerik. This control gives us a richer experience than the standard one, while maintaining all the compatibility. In Visual Studio, our Silverlight application takes on a fairly industrial look. We could fancy it up with XAML if we were complete XAML junkies. However, as we are not, we'll make it look better later using Microsoft Expression Blend, which exposes all the design aspects we need in a graphical IDE. The code for the button click event consists of creating an object based on our web service, setting the name of the handler, and then calling the web service. No more than that. We're using VB for our code behind, but any other .NET language would work just as well. There's actually very little code required. One difference to keep in mind is that calls to web services are asynchronous, so you need to have events to handle the completion of each web service call. No problem. Visual Studio will create those for you easily. Because our web services provide data from our DAL in a standard XML format, we are once again free to use any data-aware controls we wish. There is no need to use special multi-value controls created just for Silverlight. You can use add-ons from great providers like Telerik and Infragistics. It all just works. Before we can code the web service completed event handler, we're going to need a Silverlight-styled object for containing the data, basically a Silverlight dataset object. The mvLynx managed provider will create this for you exactly as it created the strongly typed datasets for our other demonstrations. To generate the Silverlight data classes, we use the sales order DAL component class. Double-click on the FWMV command 1 object to get the command configuration dialog, which contains the generate button. After saving the Silverlight dataset class to our Silverlight project folder, we need to add this new class to our project. The generated Silverlight dataset classes use almost the same naming convention as the strongly typed dataset. Even the name of the file is used for convenience. Now that we have some place to put the data, we can add code to the web service completed handler. All we need to do is retrieve the result into the Silverlight dataset classes that we automatically generated, and then bind that object containing the result data to our display grid. Each time a sales order is clicked in our Telerik grid, we want to display the corresponding multi-valued order lines. To do this, we will use the selection changed event. This code will be almost a duplicate of the code for the button click, the only difference being that we want to retrieve order lines for only a certain sales order. This means we can use the getSalesOrderById method rather than by select. We still need the event handler for the completed event though. Building Silverlight applications is not as difficult as you might think, especially if you have done some Windows Presentation Foundation development. Applying good development structure and best practices using standardized data access layers that you are already familiar with, along with a standards-based managed provider like the FusionWare mvLynx managed provider, can greatly reduce your ramp-up time. Basically, you only have to learn and understand the design parts of the application, because the code behind is either already done or almost exactly the same as how you did it in WinForms. In the completed event handler, we only need the order lines. Notice that the Sales Order Silverlight Dataset class allows the developer to use IntelliSense when writing their code. We haven't yet added the grid that will display our order lines MultiValue data. This time we are going to use the generic data grid that comes with Silverlight 4. The grid can be bound to data just the same as the Telerik controls can. It isn't as flexible as some third-party provided grids, but it gets the job done, and you can make it look nice using Expression Blend. The only thing left to do is to set the item's source property for the data grid to the results from the web service, and we are ready to try out our application. Silverlight applications can run in Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, and many other browsers, unlike some ASP.NET applications that require IE. Our running application allows us to search our sales orders and view the order along with the order lines. As we discussed near the beginning of this demonstration, Visual Studio and Expression Blend are designed to work together. We are going to open this same solution in Expression Blend and make our design changes. Once we have saved our solution in Blend, we can return to Visual Studio and our changes are loaded into our IDE, and we can continue with our development. I might even have had a graphic designer working alongside me, and together we can create a very dynamic, attractive, and functional application using Silverlight. I'm using much the same formatting as I used in our WPF demonstration. Adding color and simple effects to the application creates a warmer, more inviting user experience. For more details on Expression Blend, watch our demonstration on WPF and Expression Blend. The tight integration of Expression and Visual Studio allows designers to design and coders to code without stepping on each other. Both applications integrate very well with the source control of your choice. As we return to Visual Studio, we are prompted to load the changes made to our project in another application, Expression Blend. Once we have done that, we are ready to once again run our application. Our FusionWare mvLynx managed provider is designed to work across all .NET technologies. You can build a web application with Silverlight that uses Microsoft and third-party controls one day. The next you could build a WPF application in C#, or an ASP.NET application, or even a transformation with SQL Server integration services using the same connections, methods, and tools. Thank you for viewing our Microsoft Silverlight demonstration using the FusionWare mvLynx managed provider. No special tools were required, nothing but .NET.